you all. The brave never fall. There's a flame inside of each and every one of us that we determine how long that flame and how brightly and intensely that flame is going to burn. If you look on all the thumbnails of my podcast that I've had so far, you'll notice a flame in a lot of the thumbnails. And the significance of that is that flame that burns inside each and every one of us. It provides the warmth that we have to keep going, and the warmth of emotions, the range of emotions, and the fire they always say in the belly, in your soul. And I just feel like that flame is something I always felt inside of me. It was always something burning inside of me, a raging desire to do more, to be more, to not settle, to not to be comfortable in any way, shape, or form. And that flame, I remember when I was younger, I didn't really know what it meant. I always felt like there was something burning inside of me that wanted to just kind of let loose and turn into a raging forest fire. But I was afraid of it because I always knew whatever I was going to do in life that I was going to accomplish, I knew that it would always take hard work, and it would come through challenging myself and pushing myself and failing and being embarrassed in front of people and not knowing what to say and knowing what to do in the right times, just not having the overall strength in any aspect of my life. I thought I could have been smarter. I kind of felt like I was dumb for a long time. I had a speech problem for a long time. I had physical issues where I had 3 fused discs in my back where I couldn't even bend over and touch my toes, which now I can. I remember the doctors telling me I would never touch my toes. I remember I had a really bad eye issue. I had a wandering eye that I used to get made fun of about all the time, and I learned how to correct that now. The only time it does is if I'm really tired, it'll wander around, but I trained myself not to have that happen, even when the doctors gave up on me, the eye doctors. And I remember having a very closed up emotional core where that flame was almost like an inferno flame. It was a very cold flame. I had emotion, but it was just very pulled in and safeguarded, and I kept it on lockdown. And my mother used to always send us to Sunday school church, and I remember they would always tell me that I had potential because I would be one of the only ones in there who would participate in all the shows, and I would do the acting, and I would rehearse my lines, and I actually looked forward to that whenever we had like productions or anything like that. And I took all the morals from church, and I really got into the Bible back then. I read it, not so much because I was religious, but I used to love the stories. I'm a storyteller, so I used to love all those stories that are no different than if you watch Star Wars or something like that. I know that's not what a lot of religious people like to hear, but they're very similar. So I was interested in that. And I remember at a point in my life when I was around 16 years old, I started feeling as if there was something I was supposed to do in life. And at that age, you have no clue what you're going to do in life. You're just kind of sheltered, and you're hoping that something kind of happens and you end up doing the right thing. You make the right choices, but you don't know what you don't know at that age. I didn't have a lot of guidance. My father died when I was 14 years old. My stepfather was around, but he was invisible even when he was around. My mother didn't know how to raise boys. So I was kind of screwed. I had to learn everything that I learned came from people I saw in the movies, going to the library and reading a lot of books. And unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of people hands-on around me to kind of teach me anything. So I remember getting back to this fire, that the only way that I can intensify the fire within me, I knew it would have to be through me. I would have to figure it out on my own. And that's what I did. I got to the point when I was in my early 20s, I started figuring the shit out on my own. I just had to stop making excuses. Nobody was going to come save me. I had to start figuring some things out if I wanted to get over the hump of that initial shy little boy that I used to be, who was closed up and full of rage and anger and just didn't like a lot of people. Always felt like I was going to fail. I would try things and I was afraid all the time. And even though I was conscious of that and I was working on it, it took a long time, a very, very long time. Even after I got married, I still suffered from a lot of those issues. And it wasn't until I woke up a few years ago where I became the person I am today. And that's when I understood my fire, my flame, and what I call a beautiful determination. A beautiful determination is when you are so determined to do things the right way for yourself. You're so focused on your goals, you're so aware of your shortcomings that you'll do anything to make sure you don't fail yourself, that it almost becomes a very beautiful love story in a way to yourself. You start doing things out of love for yourself, self-love. And that's why I always say I have a very beautiful determination, because it's not wrapped up in any darkness because of the light. There's a flame that would always light me. I would never be in darkness because I know I'm guided by my own flame of who I am. In my core, my essence, my soul, that's my light. And as long as I'm in the right direction and mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, if my foundation is there, no matter how dark things get around me, I know I'm going to be a light not only for myself, but other people who rely on me. And I have obligations to the people I hold with as a high value people in my life, as I am a high value person in their life. Remember, this going back to never invest in anyone who is not invested in you. The people who aren't invested in you, they can be in your room with you and they can see your light, but they'll take advantage of it. They want everything that light provides without having earned any of it. So, it's one of those things when you're going through life. What are you determined about? What are you determined to do? Your intent in every moment. What is your action in every moment? Are you determined to do the things the right way? Or are you determined to keep going back to a place where you feel like you are failing yourself and failing people around you who are counting on you? How many excuses are you going to make? How many people are you going to let down? How many opportunities are you going to let slide right away from you because you're just afraid of stoking that fire inside of you? Because it might awaken something in you that may frighten even yourself. When you get an idea planted in your head, it's hard to erase an idea. When you get something in your head that you want to do something, even if you don't accomplish it, that thought will always be in the back of your mind. And it won't come as a form of the thought itself or the goal itself. It's going to come into what actions did you take to achieve it. And if you took none, that thought is going to be very, very heavy, and it's always going to be there haunting you because you did absolutely nothing to get something you really valued and wanted in your life, and you didn't even try. Or you tried and you gave up way too soon, made way too many excuses, and now you're in a place of regret. You're in a place of darkness, and no matter what you do, that flame is going to go out. Or it's going to turn into a very cold inferno and get out of control, and you're going to become a raging beast monster, and nobody's going to want to be around you. That's too intense of a flame. You got to find that happy medium. And it's hard to do that. It's hard to do that because that requires a lot of self-discipline and self-control. That's an incredible balance that you have to achieve, and it's hard to achieve that. I try every single day. I don't like the word try. I do everything I can each day. I take action each moment to make sure I stay as balanced as possible. But you're still going to have days where, or even long stretches, you might have a couple months where you're just unbalanced, and it's very hard to keep it aligned. But that's part of life. That's a challenge. That's called challenging the challenge. You have to take on every challenge that comes to you. And if being unbalanced is a challenge, if you're unbalanced long enough, it will become a challenge. And if it is one, it needs to be something that you're determined to fix. And that's where that determination comes back in. There's a difference between having a goal and you just wanting it, and having a goal because you're determined to achieve it because you know how much of a difference it's going to make in your life and the people's life that you need to show up for. It's too simple and easy to say every single day, I'm going to do just enough because just enough gets me by. Just enough is good enough for other people. We're not talking about other people. Is just enough good enough for you? Is just enough good enough for you? Are you determined to stoke that fire and get that flame into a nice roaring fire? That's up to each individual. I always say, why not get that fire going And if you need to tone it down, you can. But let's see what you can produce here. Let's see what you can produce. You can always take the fire back down a level and say, okay, that was a little bit too intense. Let me back this off. Or do you want to sit there and just constantly try to get this little bitty little weenie flame to keep you warm and to guide you at night? And it's just no different than you flicking on a light in a room. Some of the smallest little lights can light up a whole room. But how sustainable is it? I mean, it's just a tiny little light. Eventually, you want something that's going to be big enough where it's bigger than life for yourself. Meaning, you don't want limitations on your light. You want to grow. You want to evolve and adapt. You don't want to be just a little tiny little bulb in the corner of the room that's lighting up most of the room. But if that bulb was a little bigger, it would light up more than the room. It could light up a lot more. And maybe even provide warmth. It can have multiple functions. And that's what life is all about. That's what you are all about. You are not just some small little tiny light in the corner of a room that barely makes an impact. You are bigger than that. You're more alive than that. You're not manufactured in an assembly line. You're a fire. Something natural. Something that is of this earth. Something that has a capability of growing and growing and growing, but not hurting anyone. Except for the people who actually take that rage, which I used to have, that fiery rage, and it does hurt people. That's where determination turns into something else. There is a such thing as having too much passion. Again, you want to get the fire going, but you want to have to pull it back a little bit when you get out of control. When the fire gets out of control, your determination turns into some kind of a weird obsession for certain things, and you're doing very unorthodox things to get these things, or you're manipulating people, and you're becoming a toxic person. It's time to take that fire down a notch, quite a bit. And at this point in time, maybe you should become a very small flame, because it's dangerous to have too much fire and passion that's not checked by purpose and self-control and self-discipline. Nobody wants to be around an out-of-control fire no more than anybody wants to be around an out-of-control person. You can't trust that. You cannot trust an out-of-control fire. You cannot trust an out-of-control person. But like a natural fire, it's not determined to burn things around. It just happens naturally. If a forest fire gets out of control, it's not malevolent and trying to burn down things. It is just happening in nature. You kind of want to be like that, but just not on that scale where you're destroying things around you. But I like the aspect of having a fire, that thought of a fire, just kind of flowing and doing its thing, no differently than water does. They're both elements. The point of the exercise is to know that you are a living being and you have a purpose, and you should be determined in figuring that purpose out. And once you get on that path, that determination, once you get in your rhythm and you're on that path and you know you're doing the right things are starting to fall in line for you, it does become very, very beautiful. And that's something I never thought I would see. Especially when, like I said, when I was younger, when I was 16 years old, even younger than that. I never thought a life of me challenging myself to do things every single day and pushing myself and holding myself accountable and having self-love and self-control and trying to do new things that I never thought I would do, and stepping out of my comfort zone and stepping out of that box I was always in. I never thought that the word beautiful would be attached to something like that. But after a while, when you start getting into the flow of this, it does become beautiful. The people that come into your life, when you start behaving in a way that is full of positive determination, and people can see your purpose and they see that you're working towards things, you invite beautiful people into your life and beautiful things, and you start visiting beautiful places. You just notice everything starts to get better. And it's a mindset. It's just your mindset. It's your outlook on things. You view the world differently. You view the world differently when you put your mind in the right state, a very balanced state, and you accept who you are through self-love. And then you can start to understand that you have so much more to give. And that's when that little fire turns into flames and turns into something greater. But you have to start with something small and work your way up. Again, you can always tone that fire down when you have to. But the most important thing in this exercise is to make sure you get the fire going in the first place. And that sometimes for people is very hard, because you have to get over that mental hump of what is going to happen once you start a journey, once you start a project, once you start anything, once you start a relationship, once you start a new job. No matter what you do in life, the beginning of anything is always scary. People fear the unknown. People fear the unknown. And that's normal. That's fine. And it's healthy. Fear is not always a bad thing. Fear makes you aware, makes you focused, gets you in a state of, I need to make sure I'm on my game here, because something may happen to me that I don't want to happen. And you take nothing for granted when you're in that state. You're on everything. You're on top of everything. That's not a bad state to be in. You just can't let it control you. But you shouldn't let anything control you in life. You should always be in control of everything that's going on. It's okay to get into a fearful state, especially when you're challenging yourself, because that lets you know that you're in the right place, to be honest. When you get to a place and you having like a little bit of apprehension about it, but it's just something you're creating, it's just something that you committed to, that you're like, I just don't know about this, maybe I shouldn't have done this. There's nothing wrong with that. You should do that. You should do that thing. At least give it a solid shot. Give yourself the opportunity to do something uncomfortable, because what's beyond that is something you didn't expect about yourself. You're going to learn something new about yourself. And I always thought that was exciting and beautiful in itself, that you can wake up every day and try something new and learn something new about yourself, no matter how old you get. It's like being a child for the rest of your life, because you're constantly learning something. Every single day, you are learning something new about yourself. And that is a beautiful process. Absolutely beautiful process to know that you can get up every day. And that's where the determination comes in, because I am determined every day to learn something new, to experience something new, to push myself every day, to get out of my comfort zone with stuff and improve every single day. And that's no different than a child. But they're not thinking about it. They're just doing these things. They're just improving systematically without even thinking about it. It's just part of their daily routine. They just do stuff. And I think as adults, we forget to just do things. Try new things. Stop worrying about what's going to happen, the consequences. When the consequences come, deal with them. As long as they're not negative, who cares? If there are things that you're afraid of happening that you feel like are going to be a major shift in your life, then you might want to evaluate that before you do it. But we're talking about the things you know you can overcome, that you're determined about. Small things each day, small victories. Those are the things that will fuel that flame. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. The brave never fall.